Yeah, I got this new Gen 3 high point right here. Pretty good gun. Of course, it's got a pretty heavy trigger pull. Now, the issue I was having was the trigger guard was pretty low compared to the trigger. And I was wanting to ride low on the trigger so I can get more torque on the trigger. And the shape of the trigger came down to a pretty good point, not real sharp, but after shooting a while it was digging in the tip of my finger, and I wasn't liking that. So whenever I went home, I decided to go ahead and just modify this trigger, but I did not take anything apart. I just added a piece of plastic to the trigger, and I'll show you what I did. I have this from Walmart, like $5, this hyper tough trigger off this air nozzle here. Now here's the trigger here. I went and took the tip of that air nozzle, and it had a gap in it already, so I just kind of cut the tip of it off, and I knew it set flush over the trigger, so I just cut it off where one of the first lands was. And you can see right there, I went and I was able to lower the trigger a little bit, and I cut a groove in there and put one of those little zip ties in there, so it does pretty good. Gives me a little bit more lower force on the trigger, and it did help tighten my groups up, so it's a pretty good deal. Modifying the high point trigger without taking anything apart or taking anything from the factory. So that's what I did, and I got a Gen 1, and I did the same thing to it. The trigger is about the same with the Gen 1, but didn't come to much of a point, but it still set high in the trigger guard. So, and it didn't have all the hollowness behind the trigger like the Gen 3, but there was 3 holes in that Gen 1 trigger, and I just slid the zip tie through the middle hole and made a little groove so the zip tie wasn't sticking up. And I'm right-handed, so I put the knot of the zip tie to the left. That's pretty good.